still illegal. So now we're talking about laws, right?
Right?
So laws wise, segregation is still illegal.
No, up to today.
No, it is still illegal. What they are doing is circumventing the law by starting to incrementally break the law's power apart. When you say to a business, you are able to segregate, that
Your
is
customers.
choose to work with only white people. As a contractor, choose to only contract white people. You you didn't say the law gone, But if everybody practices this, you then put pressure now, the law is useless. And that is the strategy that Trump does. He inundates you with things that are not legal, distract you enough to think that they could be so. Oh, so as a business, I don't have to hire black people. As a business, I don't have to hire brown people. Oh, but it's not the law. But it now becomes practice, and this is their strategy ultimately, Leo. And why I'm highlighting it is because I don't think people understand how change
Take
actually
place.
happens. Yeah.
I was happy to hear that if the PNP comes into power, that they will open up opportunities for the teachers to stay,
Yeah.
like to provide, housing
Incentives.
incentives and,
Mhm.
car incentives and, rent to own incentives. And I was saying to myself, okay, so why weren't there those offered before?
Mhm.
Why is it that we're struggling to get this going when that opportunity is been there?
Mhm.
Why? Because if he, Mark Golan, identifies that these are possible, how come the government hasn't opened?
And for other Caribbean nations to be joining in to say the same in regards to this. And we cannot ignore the work that Cubans do all the time in a crisis, Leo. It wasn't just COVID. Anytime there's a crisis, you can guarantee there will be an influx of Cuban medical personnel
to help people across?
to
And and,
people.
and I don't see them asking for anything special when they do these things.
No,
I see them being really good citizens, good people, helping out their neighbors.
and good resource, a
A
very
good
good
resource.
resource, and everybody knows, like, they're well
They're
educated,
bright people.
well educated, and the right people for the moment.
Absolutely.
So it is, I think all Caribbean nations, all of CARICOM, should make this pushback to Marco Rubio. They've been interesting, and I have some clips, Leo, that are the
Yes.
fun clips that went
You do?
viral.
Okay, okay, that's
I
cool.
have,
That's
I have a
cool.
clip or two there. We want to talk about what is happening with the US, the new US administration, and how it's impacting Caribbean leaders and the Caribbean as a whole. Um, of course, we have to touch some music. Bounty Killer got his visa, so we have to.
What? Hey, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. Why is it that every one of these major artists, when they come America, the first place them stop is
It's DJ Khaled.
Khalid?
We will talk about that. So,
Okay, why?
and then, um, tangentially but connected, there are some changes happening in America. Trump's strategy is to move rapid so you don't keep up.
Can't keep up.
You might miss some stuff, so we're going to talk about that.
Mm.
But let's start out. Um, I think we should start out with the Caribbean, the impact on the Caribbean of some of these policy shifts, in particular Cuba.
That's been a big one all week.
In particular Cuba. So, for a little bit of context, Marco Rubio, in his new role, just so people know, he's Cuban heritage.
Cuban. Yes, he's descendant from Cuba. First
Descendant
generation, I think it
descendant from Cuba, so keep that in mind as we talk about this.
is.
So he has decided in his, I don't know, in his role to do a bit of hitting out. So, let me just pull up quickly what he said here. So he's talking about new policy, and he says the expanded policy applies to current or former Cuban government officials and other individuals, including foreign government officials who are believed to be responsible for or involved in the Cuba labor export program, particularly Cuba's overseas medical missions. And this is actually what has gotten Caribbean leaders upset.
Yeah. Because yeah, you want me to
Right?
answer that?
So we lost infrastructure in Leo, like because the government now have no money now for invest in education, now have no money for invest in hospitals, now no money for invest in supporting farmers. None of that.
They will not stop the private investment, but they will not allow the government spending.
Yes.
So if you think about it, right,
But
they're going to
who cares about the people? Private or government? Who's supposed to care about the people?
the government.
Exactly.
But I'm saying to you from the perspective of the IMF. The IMF is looking on and saying that I will give you the money, but it is either going to cost you raw dollars, or it's going to cost you in interest and restrictions. And so the restriction, the production that we're talking about, that they're saying that they are to stop, is any government production. If the government had to shut down things, because if they're supposed to make if the business is 100%, meaning 50-50, 50% income, 50% expense, and they're not going to tell them to shut that down. But if your expenses are way over your income, that's where they're going to say, if
Yeah, yeah,
you
you're
can't
in
bring the
bankruptcy, but that's why
that
you go
is
for
what
the loan.
uh, okay. that's
You understand?
that's why
You go
and
for the
that's why you go
loan
for
to
the
help
loan.
you.
Yeah, but
And you need infrastructure, you need development. When you continue to kill
mm,
the country, you're literally putting your foot on the country's neck. It is actually, that's what, this is why I don't like IMF.